Oh, just getting into that. I just started dancing, but I thought I better start because I'm going live on YouTube. What am I doing? How are you doing? Good evening, good afternoon from Japan, good evening, good night in America. This is Gray, Wakizashi's Teahouse, and we're going to talk Live and Let Die, Roger Moore's first outing as James Bond. Now, this came out in a very important year, 1973, the year I was born. There we go. So anyway, enough from me. Let's bring in the guests. We have Salty Traveling. C is back. How you doing, Salty?
Hey, I'm good. I didn't know you were born in '73. That's kind of cool, dude. I knew you. I knew we were close in age. This movie is so trippy when you start digging into it. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to talk about it.
I like the use of the word trippy. It is trippy. It's very 70s, isn't it, too?
Well, in all of what was going on in culture then, and some of the stars of alternative cinema that were in this film, and the reason, like, somebody didn't drink a certain thing that you always think they're going to drink in this movie, it's crazy. I can't wait to get into it.
We also have Solly, another very special guest. He's famous for being the most powerful wizard on YouTube. It is Blair de Blair.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, this movie was a staple for me growing up. You know, it's like the Sunday night movie of the week.
Yes.
And so I always saw it. Yep.
Yeah, this and Thunderball were always on.
That's right.
Like, those were the two, dude. The only two Bond movies you get, like Dr. No never came on, but it was always this movie and Thunderball for some reason.
Yes. But yeah, you're right. It's very 70s. The cars, the clothes, everything.
It made me nostalgic for my grandfather's Ford Mercury Montego.
Yep.
This 12-foot long pea soup green.
Yep.
Sounds amazing.
It had like 12 feet of hood.
Huge.
Like 12 feet of hood. It was amazing. Yeah.
You didn't drive them. You like boated on the road with those
It's
things,
true.
you know.
And Dwayne Muff
seats.
isn't wrong. Jane Seymour is
God.
Dangerously.
I had a huge crush on her, Salty, probably from this movie.
Yes.
Huge
I got
crush.
a couple.
When I was young.
I got a couple huge things from her. They weren't crushes though because of her. So, yeah.
She's beautiful, and she looks so young in this. I'm sure she probably was. You know, it's 1973, so yeah.
This is her debut, so
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, an actress.
Let's just quickly shout out the chat. We do have people watching, believe it or not. What are you doing watching us? It's unbelievable, right? We have KC Charlie Chats. Great to see you, mate. Hello, good evening to everybody. Dwayne Myth is here. Dwayne, have you recovered from that amazing Spider-Man? Oh my God. Don't talk about comics. Low Spec is here. How you doing, mate? And the Penguins are released in the chat. Be careful. We have Nosferatu the Vampire shouting out his box wine brother. That's Salty,
That's
by
my
the way.
boy. That's my boy. Franzia forever. Blasferatu the Blamfire. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And who else is there? Anybody? Oh my goodness, Jaina Jarman from the Cantina. I always want to say Cantina. I know, and that always makes me think of Star Wars, but we're all over the place, aren't we? Whoa, I'm green. She says, yes, you are. I think somebody gifted you a membership. I think it could be Salty Traveling Sea from last week as well.
It was.
Thank you very much, darling. That's you I'm talking to, Salty.
Oh,
yes,
you're welcome,
Jane is
love.
still hot. Speaking of darling, look, oh my God, I've got some photos. I was going to take lots of photos of this movie, and they're pretty much all just different shots of Jane Seymour.
Okay, we can work around that. Yeah.
We can do that, can't we?
And
okay.
She was an interesting departure from the bombshells of the '60s, and it's to me she is probably one in the top 10 most beautiful Bond girls, arguably. You know, because I'm a misogynist and I like chicks without dicks, so you know, like that's my thing. So yeah.
Jane was 20 years old when this movie was shot. Unbelievable. Thanks, Casey. And 50 years later, she's still great.
She did look young.
Wow. I was 3 when this movie came out. I was 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, man. So yeah.
It was interesting, guys. You're talking about this used to be on TV a lot. I had that as well, but we didn't get Thunderball for some reason. That was rare to see Thunderball.
Really?
That's the one that I know the least. Yeah, but Live and Let Die, it seemed to be always on, and it's so crazy. It's all over the place. Is this a Bond movie though, Salty? Is it a proper traditional Bond movie?
Well, I mean, do you want to get into that first, or do you want to look at the box office? What kicked Live and Let Die's ass?
Oh yeah, come on, we got to do
year
the
of
box
1973.
office. But
But you're never gonna guess how much money this movie cost to make. So this movie was made in 1973 dollars. This cost $7 million to make.
Wow.
Let me say that again. This James Bond movie cost only $7 million to make. Guess how much worldwide it made in 1973 dollars? $162 million.
That's like
on a $7
billion something.
$1,000 investment. Okay,
I
mean a $7 million investment. Yeah, run it through that. You do that Voodoo, man. But you got to think maybe they did maybe they did like max. They did $1.5 million, $2 million in marketing, right? And why? Because this was the first movie to come out after the Lazenby failure. You know, and so there's a lot to this movie that they went out of their way to not have it be Connery, or by extension of that, what Lazenby was. And we can get into it as we go along, but let me go ahead and share out the box office for 1973. This is the same site I always go to, so nothing's going to be weird. So the top grossing movie in 1973 was something called The Exorcist. Now that made a bunch of money. The second movie, The Sting. These are like world-class movies. The Exorcist is probably one of the scariest horror movies ever made. The Sting is a brilliant movie, a beautiful movie with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. American Graffiti, which was George Lucas's first real movie when you think about it, before he made Star Wars. And Papillion.
Yep.
Another dark movie. The Way We Were, another Robert Redford movie. I believe that was with Barbara Streisand. Magnum Force. Where's Nerdporial when we need him to talk about Dirty Harry? And then the number 7 movie for that year was Live and Let Die from MGM. Interestingly enough, Robin Hood, the animated Robin Hood, was right behind it at number 8 in 1973. So that's your box office top 8 movies for 1973. And it's crazy, right? Because it helps to put things in context and understand what this was up against back then, you know?
So today, $161 million, 1973 is $1.1 billion.
Wow.
So this would have been Super Mario Brothers money.
Yes. This is kind of money that makes all the other movies a studio makes in a year, because this made so much money, you know.
And this was the biggest, obviously the biggest film MGM did that year. Yeah. Yeah. And again, this was the first Bond movie. They had to reset the series because Connery had left, and then they had Lazenby, and then they brought in Roger Moore. And you were talking about it, Gray, where Roger Moore came from, which was something I really didn't know as a kid. You know, and it was only later when I learned he was in a TV series.
That's right, and he got quite a bit of criticism at the time, and even still now, people saying that, is he playing James Bond or is he playing Simon Templar from The Saint, which was I don't know if it's that famous in the States, but it was a very popular British TV show, you know, that Roger Moore became famous in.
It wasn't well known here until later.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once cable TV started in the 80s, and I'd say maybe the mid-80s, we started getting stuff like that. Because, I mean, that's how we got Doctor Who. It was on public television, you know, in the early 80s. But some of those other British shows, like we got Monty Python on public television here. You know, it wasn't until cable TV really took off.
And we got an MTV.
Yes, and MTV.
And the young ones.
Well, see, the young ones, yeah. Whenever I see lentils, I always think
I'm so glad you guys got the young ones. I thought that'd be a real cult, you know, British, or little known TV show.
It was cool.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I kind of got into that through my older brother, you know, because I was probably too young for it, really. The young ones was it early 80s, wasn't it? Maybe even 1980, 81, around there. I think. I remember seeing Motorhead do Ace of Spades, Sully and Blair live on that show. Unbelievable.
Dude.
The Damned were there, and all kinds of people.
Dude, I love The Damned. I've got them on vinyl, dude. I've still got them. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the only band that had a chart top number 1 like 3 months after they broke up with Come On Eileen. Like they had broken up before the album was released. It went to number 1, and so, yeah, drama. Imagine that drama.
Yeah,
thanks,
it's $7 million in 73 is 48 in today.
So they made that movie so that's 1/4 of what they blew on Disney's MCU Secret Invasion. That's 1/4, dude.
And you think about that. Even the Mario Brothers movie, it had $100 million budget, and it made what it did. Can you imagine if they made a movie for less than half that, and it made over $1 billion?
Well, that's what they're going to have to do. If Disney, if these studios were smart, they would give young aspiring filmmakers essentially $40 million and put a really good project manager on it to help them budget and finance this, figure out the finance, and then what can they feasibly shoot, but start with the story. Start with the story again. And the other nonsense, don't worry about it.
Did you see what they're spending for the Acolyte?
Yeah, I did my
No
one
comment.
Disney Star Wars Acolyte thing on Leslie Headland, and that's all I've got to say about it, because I want people to understand who this person is and what she said and
The
what
money?
this is to her. It's a stepping stone. That's all it is. That's all. That she doesn't give a shit about Star Wars.
The
Guys,
money?
listen to this, just to interrupt, to give it some perspective. The No Time to Die, the latest James Bond movie, that actually, I've just put it in the chat, it had a budget of between 250 to 300 million, and it made 774 million. It's incomparable, isn't it, to what you were saying, Blair? Like the 48 million budget for Live and Let Die, and it made $1 billion. Back, if you adjust for inflation.
But somebody's got to pay for all these diversity, equity, and inclusion roles in the organization. Socialism isn't cheap,
Stephen,
nor good for anyone.
But look, we're not the movie-going theater public like we were back in the early 70s or even 80s.
How dare you?
We have streaming and
always go to movies, though. I mean, I want to go to the theater. I want to go to movies. There's been nothing out that I want to see. The Sound of Freedom.
Yes.
I want to see Dune 2.
Good.
Me too. Which has been pushed back to next year, Salty.
Oh no,
it hasn't been confirmed yet. I just saw an article that said they're only considering it. Okay.
Okay.
But here's the real heartbreaker.
Crazy.
The Color Purple, Gray, the musical version of The Color Purple, they're releasing. That may be delayed until 2024. Everyone pour a little beer out for Oprah Winfrey's musical version of Alice Walker's
whatever.
The Color Purple. And then let's not forget yet another Willy Wonka prequel. This one is also a musical. Anybody wants to see this shit.
Another prequel nobody wanted.
Oh dear me, with young Paul Atreides playing the main part, isn't he?
I'll get off of it, but do you know who the star of The Color Purple musical is? The same African American actress who bombed in The Little Mermaid. So that's why they're going to put it.
Fix her eyes, or she'll still
No, she's still got the crazy.
Oh, poor girl.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being racially insensitive. I don't even know it. I don't know what's going on there. I'm just going to
maybe that works better in live action. Who knows?
Salty? No way, I don't believe it. Okay, anyway, to come back to Live and Let Die, 1973. It's the 8th movie in the James Bond series, and of course the first one to star Roger Moore as the eyebrow-raising James Bond. It was directed by Guy Hamilton, who returned, I think. I think he did. Had he done Thunderball?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure. I think so. He's probably most famous for the blaxploitation kind of big vibe to it, as well as the occult, the tarot card reading, which I got really interested in because Jane Seymour was doing the tarot reading. So get some initial thoughts. Do you think does it hold up as a Bond movie? Because we've got them all to watch these days. We can just visit anyone we want. Is it a good one? Should we start with Blair? Blair, what do you think?
I like it personally. It's one of my favorites. It's the first Roger Moore one. He's my favorite James Bond. But there are some very cringy things, especially the mask the guy wears when he's trying to pretend he's this American Mr. Big, whatever.
That was creepy, wasn't it? It looks really off when you see it.
It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid when we watched this movie.
It scared me now.
Me too.
It was the 70s. Come on, man. I mean, Jimmy Carter was president. And spoilers, the same thing called stagflation was happening then that's happening now.
We had a crap economy back then.
It sucked. Yeah, it sucked.
But it was really cool because they had like this super whole black underworld in every city. You know, all of these people are assassins. They literally stage a mock funeral to kill the guy and then scoop his body up, and they all are in on it. You know,
I mean, and that's the thing. We were talking about it before we went live, Blair, about the 1970s and how much African American stuff there was on TV and how much African American cinema there was, because in 1973-72 it was kind of the pinnacle of blaxploitation cinema. Like you just talked about, what this director was involved in it. And this film deviated greatly from the established formula by Sean Connery. And they did it deliberately, because one thing you'll notice in this movie is that Roger Moore never drinks a vodka martini, never says shaken, not stirred. He drinks bourbon. He drinks bourbon. And that in and of itself, while not, you know, life-changing, it is a big departure from the shaken, not stirred Bond that we all knew with Sean Connery. The other thing about this movie too is that it has Bond's first interracial relationship, in a film, in sex scene with an actress who, I didn't know this, was actually a major star in blaxploitation cinema. And that's why, as Blair referred to this director's association with blaxploitation, a lot of that vibe was going into this movie to ride what was popular in 1973.
Yeah, it's the fingerprints of the 70s are all over this thing. I mean, this part here, I
love it.
This is the second time you see his apartment. The first time we saw it in Dr. No, and now we see Roger Moore, his apartment. This is the only part where it's not, 70s black. Everything else after this, from the cars, the clothes, everything is in the vein of that early 70s blaxploitation thing.
Yeah. And James Bond is in Harlem. Just think about that one a second. He's in Harlem.
It's so cool, though. Yeah.
And you get to see what New York City was, and now is again, essentially the same thing. But New York City was a shithole. Like, it was a dangerous place to be. The movie The Warriors was because that's how New York was. The King of New York, all that stuff. And you see that. One of the things about this movie is, to me, the star of this is the fashion, the cars, and the way it looked when Blair and I and Gray were kids. I mean, that was the world. There were no cell phones. There's no cable TV. Every phone was a rotary. You had to do this.
CD radios.
Dude, yeah, my dad had all that stuff.
And taxis.
Yellow taxis. It has the yellow New York taxis. But I mean, a lot of it is sentimental, I think, for me, which is why I like this movie a lot. Now, I think this was a highly flawed movie. It's a highly flawed movie. But it's still a beautiful piece of 70s cinema.
Yes, I agree. 70s cinema. Can we go back a couple slides, Gary?
Yeah. Which one were you thinking of? Let's have a look.
Jane Seymour. You're right, Steph.
Yes, let's just stay here for a bit. Let's just,
Oh.
Let's just do a scene breakdown of
wow.
But guys, being serious for a moment, going back to this one.
I am being serious.
Come on, we can be serious. I just love this view we get of, because you very rarely see his apartment, his flat, whatever, and he's making this extravagant coffee for It's not. Is it Q? No, it's not Q. It's M. M comes to his apartment, doesn't he? Interrupts him, and he makes his coffee. It takes him ages, and he goes, "Is that all it does?" When he gives him the coffee.
Well, and he makes it like a pro, but isn't he banging some Italian chick that he stuffs into a closet and stuff like that?
Yes, a missing agent apparently.
Yes, I
he's
love
making
that.
coffee to divert the fact that he's got a
there she is.
Woman shacked up in there, which is funny because today that'd be totally normal, Back then, that was people were drinking Folgers, for God's sakes. Like my grandparents.
Sanka. Remember Sanka?
Yes.
Yeah.
Freeze-dried shit.
Those of you under the age of 40, be glad.
Yeah. You live in a
great time to
much
be a
better.
kid. It was a great time, but man, they were, margarine. Everything was margarine. They were a lot of terrible instant coffee. Polyester bell bottoms. It was traumatic, but we lived through it.
Guys, this actress here was either Madeleine or Madeline Smith, and she was in quite a lot of Hammer horror movies from the time. You can probably recognise her. I thought I know her face. I'm sure, not just her face, if you know what I mean.
I think she was in what was it, Vampire Lovers, the lesbian vampire movie
Oh
from
my God.
'71. I just watched that the other night, which is why I remembered. She looks good naked too, by the way. Check that one out. Vampire Lovers.
She sure does. Oh my goodness. And did you see the tarot cards? You notice on the not the picture side, but it's got 007 on the cards. 007. Look at the red here.
I did notice that. Wow.
The miracle of high definition in Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
I know, right? I know. So, okay, so yeah, fair enough. I don't think it's one of the best Bond movies. I think Roger Moore gets quite a lot of flack, generally. For the tone is different. It's much more light-hearted. Apparently, they kind of rewrote it when they cast him. Because he wasn't the first choice, Salty, was he, apparently? They tried to get Connery. Of course, he refused. They didn't want to bring Lazenby back. No, thank you.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, the other
George.
part of this... Or George. Yeah, they didn't... The other part of this was... I think that because they just bombed so hard with Lazenby, it was Casino Royale, if memory serves, and that they just went what was popular at the time. So this is one of the only Bond movies where someone swears and says shit, and it was in this movie.
Oh,
And
really?
it's the old lady who's getting the flight lesson at the airport of all people. Who
Mrs.
says
Bell.
shit. It's Mrs. Bell. The other thing is they use racial epithets, which I think are just absolutely hysterical. But they derogatory racial terms, including honky.
Yes,
and
I saw that.
they called the African American gangsters big stretch Cadillacs pimp mobiles. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then of course you've got Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who is a total cracker, redneck sheriff hiking up his belt, just like you see in Smokey and the Bandit. It
was like he just, he'd come in from that movie. He pretty much did, didn't he? It just felt like a
Just-
different movie, those
Buford
scenes.
T. Justice is
Buford
a
T.
direct
Justice.
creation from this guy. I mean, right down to the sheriff thing and the boy and hey, Zaxx.
Yep.
No,
Hey,
it was
Zaxx.
from Her Majesty's Secret Service was Last of the Bees.
Oh, okay. All right.
Casino Royale was like that comedy one of Nevin and
I always juxtapose those two. And do you remember it was in Like Flynn? Did you guys ever see that?
yes,
parody
that was
of it?
great.
We should review that movie because that movie
In Like Flynn, wow.
fantastic. It's a great movie from the '60s.
James Coburn was awesome. in that.
Totally.
We've got Stephen Ransom in the chat. Good to see you, mate. I hope you're good. Hope you're Genki. Roger Moore was a hot property before he became James Bond. It was mainly from TV, as far as I know, but I've not researched it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Big TV star. Did you guys see? Oh my God, what was the one he was in with? Not Danger Man. Was it Danger or something like that? There was him and. Okay, I'll have to have a look. Anyway.
Was it a movie or a TV show?
A TV show. Let's have a quick check.
See Copa's comment? Connery saw the color supporting cast and outright rejected.
Copa. Really? But they, speaking of swapping races and all this kind of thing, they did actually change a bit from the book. They were saying originally Solitaire was meant to be, she was a black woman in the novel, and Rosie, the agent, the one he sleeps with, Rosie was white, so they swapped them both around. They wanted to cast Jane Seymour for Solitaire, because she's staggering. And then, as you were saying, Salty, that she became famous as a blaxploitation actress. She was the first interracial kiss with James Bond, and that was 73. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Star Trek really shook it up, and people always ignore this fact that are idiots today. Making Star Trek and talking about how groundbreaking it is. Nothing was more groundbreaking than I think it was in '65. The kiss between Nichelle Nichols and William Shatner on broadcast television, which is something they wanted to censor.
100%.
And it was a really big deal because of the civil rights stuff going on and segregation in certain parts of the United States. The other part of this about this movie too is that it marks a departure in Bond's general character for two reasons. Number one, this is all about a fictional country. It doesn't exist. Every other Bond movie, with one exception, maybe it's Dalton, it's a real country, that they're going to or they're part of. The other thing is this is one of the only times where Bond actually assassinates the leader of another country. Because that's what he does with Kananga or whatever the hell his name is. I mean, he's a Fruit Loop druggling and heroin voodoo crazy ass bitch, right? But he's still the leader of a country. And Bond how can we say he really blows it up with this guy. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He's usually going after some megalomaniac super scientist, industrialist, or whatever. This is actually the leader of the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets criticism for that, just to say, because he's not a massive villain, is he, Salty? He's not, a huge presence like Blofeld or even Dr. No. He's kind of it's like a mafia, or not mafia, what's the word? It's a drug. It's a drug movie.
He's a heroin.
Yeah.
Like
he's a narco
heroin. That's it. He's a narco terrorist.
A narco terrorist. Nice.
Yeah, before the 80s, with the Sandinistas. Raise your hand if you remember that, kids.
They're still talking about heroin. That's a very 70s drug. Cocaine was still a rich man's drug. Poor people didn't get it.
Yeah, and there was a time when heroin was essentially off the streets, and then, of course, that became inconvenient for... I'm just going to leave it there for people to achieve some aims. But the other thing about this movie is that love scene between, I think, is it Rosie Carver? Is that her character's name in the film? That was actually censored in South Africa when the film was released, Live and Let Die. In 1973, of course, South Africa was under the Botha regime and all that. So they had apartheid. So the last thing they wanted to do back then was to show an interracial love affair or kiss or anything like that. I'm actually, sadly enough, that's probably the same case now in South Africa, except that they probably don't have running water and electricity anymore there. So seriously, look up what's happened in South Africa. But this is such a great movie because there were so many crazy things coming out in the 70s. It was so experimental, and it's crazy again because what came out this year? The Exorcist. I mean, The Sting came out. Just all these remarkably different movies. And then, of course, American Graffiti. Again, Steven Spielberg, before Jaws, before E.T., doing crazy stuff with George Lucas, you know? So.
Just having a quick look at the retrospective reviews. This is the BBC. Someone from the BBC was saying that Dr. Kananga, Mr. Big, is the worst villain of the Roger Moore James Bond movies. There we go.
I'd agree with that.
In the best way, or the worst is like he sucks, or
he sucked. He believed he just wasn't.
I don't know that. What about that dude with the? I mean, you could totally tell he was just shoved a fake arm up his suit. I mean, even on 1970s,
even as a kid, we could tell.
You could just see like one arm's like 2 feet longer than the other, and it's like. Not a lot of money went into the special effects for this movie, but he was scary as shit because he had like that claw thing, and it's like
the scary thing was he's feeding the chickens to the alligators and crocodiles. He's like hooked his hand and is like throwing that, and like God.
Yeah, I mean, they drive him out to the bayou where there's voodoo stuff going on, and then he puts him on an island surrounded by alligators, and they're throwing a lot like chicken. The thing about this is this seems all too likely in 2023. I mean, just gonna say that. Like, look at the world we live in. I think you have a higher chance of this happening in real life now than you did in that. Yeah, look at that. The hell is that? I mean, like, an effort was made, but Jesus Christ, I could do that right now with a long sleeve shirt. You know what I mean?
Hey, at least it's practical. You know what I mean? It's not
true.
CG. But guys, what you're both saying about scaring you, this movie scared me a lot as a kid. Not just this, it was the voodoo scenes, the Papa Midnight, was it? Baron Samedi, fantastic scenes, but I was terrified at those. He really freaked me out, that character.
Shitless. When he comes out of the grave on that lift thing,
God.
I mean, Blair, for you, like that was scary. I'm watching all of these people from a different culture, and we didn't know shit about voodoo. I'm living in a small town America, dancing around, and all this shit, and like cutting chickens' necks, and like, look at that crazy bastard.
There he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrifying.
He's awesome though in the part. He plays it up so well. The dance scene.
The voice of 7-Up for the entire...
That's for me too. Never had it, never will. And it was back when 7-Up was in the big green glass bottle. You could buy it in 1 liter glass bottles.
No idea about that. No way.
Oh yeah, Old Man Salty's telling everything to the kids.
That's cool.
Old Man Blair too.
Yes, I remember. I was there. The 70s. That's back when
all the soda was made with cane sugar. They didn't
Yes.
use genetically modified corn to make genetically
And
modified
glass.
corn syrup.
There was
In
no
where are we,
plastic. It's
guys?
all glass.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Holder as Baron Samedi. That's him. Jeffrey Holder, Kananga's henchman. Fantastic. What a voice he has. He's awesome. Unforgettable.
He's like a Broadway
Uncola.
actor.
Yeah,
That's right.
Dwayne Muth dropping the deep carbonated beverage lore in chat. You guys are rocking this thing. Yeah, Stephen Ransom. Yeah, The Duel was Spielberg's first movie, but also I thought he was involved in American Graffiti with George Lucas, but it could be wrong. It could be wrong. So
I don't know. I thought that was just an all George movie. But
Maybe
they
it
were
was.
friends, and maybe he helped produce it or something too. You know?
yeah, they went back and forth because they were
Yeah.
both involved in 1941, which was a failed movie, but I love that movie. Actually,
That was funny.
That's a guilty pleasure.
Me too, Salty. Yeah, it's
I love that
little
movie.
regarded these days, is it? That's John Belushi, isn't it? In that.
John Belushi's driving he's flying a P-52 or P-51 Mustang around looking for the Japanese over like the desert in California, and he's drunk in this plane, and like it's hysterical.
The opening scene that parodies Jaws. You got the naked
Yes.
swimmer, and then the Japanese submarine comes up. Oh my god, I
What?
used to love watching that that scene as a kid.
Hollywood, because there's a naked American chick on their
It's-
periscope.
Vaguely based on a true event. There
Yeah.
was some type of unidentified aircraft over L.A. during the war, and they thought for sure it was the Japs, and they'd come for them.
Yep,
It was probably
yep,
some
it-
American coming
it
from
was
another
the
base, but always
The
UFO.
Japanese are coming. The Japanese are coming. Be careful.
Everybody was terrified that it was going to happen. So I'm sure the whole
So
city was
guys,
spooked.
come back to the movie. One of the craziest, well, not craziest, one of the most memorable scenes is when
Yes.
Roger Moore, James Bond, stacks the deck. You know, he
Good man.
gets Jane Seymour to take the lover's card, and of course they're all lovers cards, aren't they?
Yeah, and she's a virgin.
Is that not a bit creepy
Good old
though? 'Cause
James.
she was so young, and he kind of not forces himself, but he basically, he basically
all
does, doesn't he?
creepy. It was by our standards.
Today that'd be a rape charge, or grape charge. I'm sorry.
Oh, grape! Yeah,
Grape
my goodness.
That's all right. It's out of the bag. I mean, yeah, it would be sexual harassment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mershmone Penny. Okay, so again, quite a lot of links to Smokey and the Bandit, as you were saying, with that the sheriff. And what about the crazy boat chase scene? When with that awesome
boat
car
chase
stuff?
scene was like one of the longest ever. It was longer than
Yeah.
a car chase. Going and going and going, and
did.
it was good.
Yeah. And there was urban lore, and you guys are going to have to confirm this for me, that somebody died during one of the stunts in this movie. It was the jump where the speedboat jumps over the road, if I remember correctly, and flips, and they actually left the scene in the movie. Now, someone's going to need to confirm that for me, but that's always the way that I understood it, is that a stuntman died doing that scene, and they left it in the movie because it worked. And I don't know if that's an urban myth or not, but that's one of the things I remember from this movie. So
I didn't hear that, but I don't know if any stunt people died on a James Bond movie.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, this could have been an urban legend, I mean,
Yeah, one of those things that people don't. Which James Bond movie was it where? So for this sheriff, we see him in another movie.
He's in the Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well
and that's
done.
another boat one.
Yeah.
That does a 360 loop thing. Okay. Because I kept looking for this in this movie, like, wait a minute, no, this isn't it. There's another boat movie that all this is in.
That's the one where the Thai kid is trying to sell him the wooden elephant,
yes.
Yeah.
Guys, we've got a question from KC Charlie Chats going back to Solitaire. Did Bond know it would rob her power, by taking her virginity, or was it just a lucky side effect of being a horn dog? A nice question. Did he know that?
I think he did.
I think he
I think he did. I also but I don't think he believed in it. I think that he just wanted her. Here's the thing: when people believe in something, regardless of what anybody else does, like people who wear a T-shirt over their face, 3 years later, there's nothing you can say to somebody who has this strong emotional, almost cult-like belief in something. So for somebody to believe in the power of voodoo and fortune telling and cards, Just somebody believing it enough on themselves can impart power to it. Doesn't mean it's right. It just means that person is so fiercely committed to it. And then when you enable that, that type of mania. But the fact that good old James slid on in there, no one had ever parked in that parking space before. And so when he went in there and put the James Bond RV, in the tiny, in the one car garage, so to speak,
Jesus, Salty.
it rocked her. What? You guys have dirty minds. I can't even make an analogy without you savages making it sexual, which is entirely my point. But you know what I mean? Like, that changed her, and suddenly it's like, okay, well, I'm nothing without this power, and suddenly he is the super spy, has control over her. At least that's the way I interpret it.
He gets her away from him, and then she has all this knowledge about his operation. So,
and Dr. Kananga, Mr. Big, is furious, isn't he? Because he was saving her for himself. Of course, that was the plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But how cool is this movie that it has both alligators and sharks? I mean,
I was gonna say about that, like, we have to go to that place. Like, what else? Can we get a giant squid? Can we get electric eels? It's like, just throw everything in this goddamn movie,
laser beams on the sharks.
Yeah,
that's where the whole thing came from.
Laser beams. Yeah.
Stephen Ransom, cheers to Salty. That's the actual power of voodoo, the placebo effect. A lot of it is about how much you believe, isn't it? If you believe in something, can you manifest it? Can you make it, actually happen? Interesting.
Yeah.
Guys, about the alligators, just briefly, this caught my eye on Wikipedia. When they were scouting for locations in Jamaica, it says the crew discovered a crocodile farm owned by somebody called Ross Kananga. They passed a sign which was warning trespassers will be eaten, so they put it into the script.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. See, this is why Chad rocks. I love those little things like that. Can you imagine you're like scouting locations in Jamaica in the 70s? Boy, how much pot was being smoked back then. But like, you're going down a road and there's like an alligator farm, because that's
unbelievable.
Normal. Like, we have an alligator
farm. There's one down my road, so I don't know about you and Blair. Just down the road, turn right.
I don't know. You're in Japan. Nothing could really surprise me, dude. You could have like I'm just gonna say that. Not in a bad way. Well, not all bad. Let's say that. But yeah.
When do you ever say anything bad? What are you talking about, you madman?
I do. I'm a ray of sunshine, dude.
Actually, is it Haiti? They were going to film there originally, but because there was a lot of unrest at the time, they changed to Jamaica. So there we go. Jesus, Nosferatu dropping
there. No. I was going to say, I actually had a friend, and I won't go into it, who worked for that organization in that country. And
there goes the stream.
One night. No. I got drunk with her one night, and we didn't like each other. We went to college together, but it was like my buddy's girlfriend, and she went and volunteered there. And whatever you think is conspiracy theory and too far out there, you haven't gone far enough. I'm just gonna say that. And she was there, and she literally paid her own way and had to get a private plane to take her out of there because they wouldn't let her leave. So,
oh my God, that's terrifying.
That's all I'm going to say about that. That's a true story.
My roommate was stationed there on a humanitarian mission back in the early 90s. He said it was just hell on earth.
Yeah, you don't want to be there. Anyway, this is a great movie. I love this movie. I mean, again, we talked about this before, but growing up as a kid, watching Roger Moore, he seems so over the top and so swarmy and like just drowning in the cliched one-liners and polyester. But going back to these movies now, it's just, I don't know, it's the cars, the scenery, the people, the way the world looked. Men were men and women were women, and they were strong and they were feminine, and yet they could totally cut your throat and everything else, and all that stuff. It's back when the world kind of made a little more sense, which is crazy to say about the 70s. Those of us who grew up in it as kids, it was not a fun time to be alive, and it was weird, and the country was changing a lot. But to go back and look at it now, it's just, I guess it is 50 years later. Which is just weird to say.
That's crazy. It's 50 years, man, isn't it?
Tell me about it.
Oh my God,
Well,
what
roots reggae started earlier, but Bob Marley, Toots and the Maytals, Black Uhura, I mean, a lot of that proto stuff was starting. But yeah, I mean, a lot of that music was coming out. That also, you have to look at funk. You have to look at funk, and a lot of the music, like look at the soundtrack for Shaft, any of the blaxploitation movies, was a whole other sound. And what they did is they evolved the Motown, which was, the Supremes and Smokey Robinson. And suddenly it went this other direction in the 70s where it was a lot more harder funk, where James Brown, the angry black
Bill
sound,
Clinton
what a
and
lot
all
of
that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and it's great music. There was a now defunct record label called Chex in Chess that did these just incredible funk things that had so many great blaxploitation sound and songs out there. But you can hear some of it, that funky sound that would have been in, Blackula. They did a Black Dracula movie because it's a blaxploitation movie.
Yep,
Dude, it was a great movie. I mean, great being relative, let's be honest. But it's like it was a big change in culture, and conflict. And of course, Vietnam was still going on. It would be 2 more years in 1975 until the war was finally ended. So
Sure,
yeah.
73.
Yeah.
America was it was in a bit of a mess, wasn't it, at the time? So as we saw, like how bad did Harlem look? It looked like
it got worse.
It got a lot worse. It got worse, dude.
Really?
Like I said, The Warriors is a documentary. It is not a. It's like, if you
I
haven't
remember
seen
that movie. That scared me of going to America. It's like, Jesus, is America like this?
Well,
New
New
York
York City is kind of like New York City's Baltimore is like that again. Must
Like
just
The
be
Wire
an
and stuff.
accident. Yeah.
Blotteratu over Blackula. There you go. Thanks, Nasrai. Thanks for that.
What was the name of the make-believe country? San Martin.
I gotta cheat and look.
Me too.
But it was basically Jamaica.
Yeah.
Because the one guy, the boat captain, was the son of the guy from the first Dr. No
Quarrel.
movie.
That's right, Quarrel Jr.
Quarrel
Yeah,
Jr.
nice one.
The crazy thing is because this was a book and this movie
San
was shot
Monique.
how many years? How many years? It was, what was it, 64, 65 when Dr. No came out. So this is 8-9 years later or something like that. So there was no way they were going to get 10-year-older Quarrel to do this. So that's why they called him Quarrel Jr. in this movie. But yeah, it was San Martinique. Yeah, Dr. Kananga. Yeah, and you also see Felix Leitner in this movie, who's he's remarkably racist, which is kind of hysterical if you're honest about it. But
See, really?
yeah, he's like follow that guy in the pimp mobile, you know what I mean? To the other CIA agent, and it's like
he reprised the role twice, Salty. Did you know that? In the next movie and also in one of the Dalton ones.
Dalton.
A License to Kill.
Yeah, the second
the one where
Dalton
he
movie
gets
as well.
eaten by a shark in the Miami Vice wannabe James Bond movie. That's what it was.
And then he goes on
another
a
drug
kill.
cartel movie. Yeah.
But did you see the Louisiana troopers, the state troopers, the cars, like red and white and all those colors, and it's like, good God,
I remember police cars like that as a kid, but I lived in the middle of nowhere, and so a lot of those cars were there up until the 80s, and then they all got the Crown Vics.
Yes, that was it.
And when you were a kid up to no good, you got to know the profile and headlight pattern of the Crown Vic and disappear, like a ninja into the alleys. It's a true story.
Like a ninja? Did you say ninja, Salty? Speaking of ninjas, guess who's sneaking up behind us? Here we go.
Uh-oh. There he is.
Canadian shoulders.
With my ninja
wax
skills.
on, wax off.
His shoulders are too big to be a ninja, Zaxx. Sorry, you're too huge. You'll never make it.
But
how you doing,
ninjas
man?
Ninjas don't have guns that big, baby. That's what I'm saying.
I'm great. I'm ready to talk about The Witcher.
Okay. Actually, that's not my stream.
Obviously,
That's
you're
Cobra
traumatized,
stream.
sir. You need help.
Oh, Jesus. Come on, man. Roger Moore, James Bond, his first movie. What do you think?
But okay, first The Witcher. I haven't finished the season, but James Bond is how you do it. Like, if you're gonna have to swap out your lead, do it like this. Just don't address it. We don't need a multiverse, please.
Oh, yeah.
Please We don't need a multiverse.
Yeah.
Just switch out the actor and
Yeah.
eat it for a bit, and we'll get used to the idea. And don't reboot it. We don't need to start from the beginning again.
Not
Just
another origin
fucking-
story.
Oh my God.
Like
Blood origins
Superman,
even.
like James Gunn. Hey, kids, I'm making a Superman movie. Guess what I'm going to do? Another basic bitch origin story. Because we need that.
Jesus.
That. So I was thinking about that when I was listening to you guys earlier, because like, yeah, it's his first movie, and George Lazenby, nobody wants to go back to that, but they didn't have to go back to that. They could just tell the next story with a different actor as James Bond, and we all got along just fine with it. Like, yes, people love Connery, but it's fine.
In a different vibe, and you had people like M, and you had Moneypenny and this, and you had everything, but you went a different direction, so people were like, oh, this is different. And it's not different for the sake of being different, but I mean, this is a blaxploitation movie with James Bond in it. That's really, at the end of the day, what it is. And then let's get those crazy stoners, that guy from the Beatles, to do the music for it. You know what I mean? Which is like, it's perfect, right?
Yes,
it's a great song. It's a great track. Come on, guys.
But it's the first Bond movie where John Barry doesn't do the music for it. Is this one? They went to what is it? The producer of Wings. He did the music for this.
It's also nice because you totally moved out of the '60s. You know, you weren't in vodka and tight pants and that whole '60s look. It was totally the '70s. And I love how the fact that going forward, everybody knew that James Bond was basically just the code name of whoever was inhabiting that life at the time.
Yeah.
You know. So there was a guy named that we know as, a Scottish guy who was Guy. And then there's one guy who got married, his wife got killed and bailed out because he couldn't handle it. And then this very English man, came in, and people figured it out without having to be told. Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, 32 Flavors. Nick Weiser in the chat. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for dropping in. And it is huge. Huge. James Bond is huge.
Yes, it's a huge
Zaxx,
change.
do you like him in the role? Do you like Roger Moore? Because a lot of people struggle to get used to it after Sean Connery. Because Sean Connery did come back for one. Don't forget, we're all forgetting Diamonds Are Forever, which was before this.
Yeah,
I liked
71.
I'm fine with Roger Moore. I thought he was a bit more light, different type of actor, and I enjoyed it. He was a fun Bond for me. He was my first Bond that I really remember connecting with.
Me too.
Same.
And I thought it was fine. He wasn't trying to do a Sean Connery impersonation.
Thank God.
No.
So
He made his own thing. He had his own little dry wit.
Great point.
And
that's a great point.
Yeah.
He was kind of a smug. He'd do like one on like.
I think he's just playing himself. Was he Blair? Was he playing Roger Moore? Basically,
He may have been.
That's what I imagine.
Well, he had a mannerism from The Saint where he arched one eyebrow, and the producers told him not to do it in this movie, but he occasionally kind of did it halfways, and maybe it was an homage to everybody knew who he was, and other things like that. But I think Roger Moore comes into this and he plays a very competent Bond. He's very competent, and he's almost understated in ways that, because he goes full 70s cheese Roger Moore in about another movie or two, where it's like, oh look, it's Roger Moore being Roger Moore in a James Bond movie.
Moonraker?
But in this movie, it's like don't even do that.
We don't talk about that one.
That movie does, just like Crystal Skull. That movie does not exist, dude. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, I think I think at his best, Bond, arguably best secret agent in this movie, which is weird considering, again, it's a blaxploitation movie with James Bond in it.
Baron Samedi.
Yeah, baby. Never had it, never will.
Do you remember the 7-Up ads, Zaxx, that he did? Did they play in Canada?
Think so. No, I don't think so.
It was a 70s thing.
Was it just his voice, or did you see him in the
I did
ads?
some.
Okay.
You saw him, and he was usually like in a white 70s ruffled tuxedo, maybe a top hat, sitting like on a veranda, very elegant with a top hat and cane, sipping 7-Up with his pinky in the air. It was a great marketing campaign. It was.
Where are we? To share it with Zaxx, because it's an iconic performance. Here he is, this guy. Fantastic as Baron Samedi.
Yeah. In whiteface, amazing.
half and half.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
It means he's mixed.
That's representation right there. Can we eject Zaxx? No, Flaccid. You can't. Get out of here.
It's the wrong channel, buddy.
Representation. But yeah, we were talking earlier, Zaxx. He scared me when I first saw this as a kid. His performance is awesome, but the kind of weird, the voodoo dance scene that's going on. He's got the snake, the opening scene where they kill that agent in Jamaica. Really, really scary.
One thing I just
Can he
realized,
die, Blair? Sorry, can he be killed? This guy. It's
I
not
don't know.
clear, is
It's
he?
kind of funny at the very end. He's at the
Yeah.
front of that train, just laughing.
Yeah.
But so, and Doctor No, this kicked it all off. It started because a bunch of agents were killed, and
Yep.
Bond is dispatched to find what's going on. This one, same thing. A bunch of agents are killed, and James Bond is dispatched to find out why.
And he goes to freaking New Orleans. They go from New York to New Orleans, and then they go into. I swear to God, I know what bar they're in New Orleans. I mean, I know that I was there in the 90s a lot
No
for
way.
work. But it was crazy. It was crazy again. The amount of different cultural things that I'd say as a white kid in America you didn't really see. Now we did have a lot of African American stuff on television. We had Good Times. We had the Jeffersons. We had other shows like that, and like there were black kids I went to school with too. Okay, but to see these other elements like Harlem. What's a cracker like me ever going to see anything about Harlem or like New Orleans? Like we didn't have any money to go to New Orleans and stuff like that. So again, the locations of the Bond movie are just as important as the bad guy is. In this movie, you can tell they saved a lot of money. Let's just be honest about it. That's why the budget was only $7 million. But still, like to see New Orleans, like I don't know. I thought in all of those, God, what do they call it? The mummers for the funeral. And stuff like that was pretty damn cool,
Just checking for ICT Vinny. Great to see you. How old was Moore when he played Bond? Believe it or not, he was 46 when he played this role. In 73, he was 46 already. Wow.
He looked like he was a little bit older.
Little high mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We don't need the young origin Batman story again.
Yeah, exactly.
With a young Bond. He was a competent, maybe a bit past his prime, but he was a very competent, confident Bond.
Yeah.
He
got to bang James Seymour too. So.
Oh my God, he's so lucky. How dare you? How dare you?
No complaining.
This is the actor. This was the 7-Up commercial. This is the Baron Samedi.
Wait, you
in
found
the movie.
it?
Oh yeah, dude. Because I remember this was on TV all the time, and I remember this because my grandfather would be sitting there smoking his pipe and be like, he'd sit there and go, "Never had it, never would," and just like everybody. The thing we're missing, I think, in our culture is really good marketing stuff like plop plop fizz fizz and never had it, never will. Have a
Where's the beef?
Smile. Where's the beef? Like all these things where instead it's like, oh look, it's two black lesbians buying a Subaru in every ad, which I guess kind of works. But why two black lesbians are buying a Subaru in an ad for butter? I don't know. What I mean?
Very specific demographic.
It's a niche. It's niche, especially on YouTube. That's the only ads I get that I can't skip.
Well, maybe they think you are a black
Sorry,
lesbian.
dude, I died. Two black lesbians buying a Subaru. It's for chewing gum. Look, they're like, what does this have to do with chewing gum? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Tell me that's not happening. All right.
Oh, you guys, crazy. So, Zaxx, did you watch this movie, by the way, for the stream?
A long time ago.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I only got halfway through it on a rewatch because I forgot how long it is. It's 2 hours. This is 2 hours, and back in the 70s, that was quite long, wasn't it, for the Bond movies?
Yeah.
That's a decent length for any film, you could say, almost.
Yeah, 2 hours is.
I almost like miss that these days. Oh God, I remember when movies used to be 2 hours, not like 2 3/4 to 3 hours long like they are these days. But I did see Mission Impossible, by the way, Dead Reckoning. I finally saw it. That was awesome.
Did you like it, Greg?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
We're gonna see that.
Despite its flaws.
After we've had this conversation and we sort of talked about the vibe of this movie, I wanted to revisit this again because look at these other movies. Now, the number one movie was The Exorcist. Number two was Sting in 1973. Yeah. But you had something like Magnum Force. But then you also had Serpico. Okay, you get it like that gritty New York 70s type of a thing.
As well.
And of course, dude, yeah. I mean, like Enter the Dragon.
Oh my
came
God.
out the same year. Okay?
73.
Day of the Jackal.
Dude, that movie's insane, right?
Yeah.
High Plains
High Plains
Drifter.
Drifter?
Fantastic.
Dude,
Yes.
it's set the same year this movie came out. Battle for the Planet. I don't know what this is. I hope it's got naked chicks in it. Westworld came out.
What?
Westworld came out in 73. It didn't make any money, but it came out. But you get a sense of where they were in making cinema. I mean, look at this. Crazy things. But then Serpico is super hyper violent, set in New York, the same gritty world. But I don't know. I just think it's fascinating because, again, when you look at these things in the context of when things are released, it helps you understand why the movie was made. I think if we don't blow ourselves up next year so that there's not an election here in my country in 2024, that people will look back on 2023. I'm not even kidding. They got nothing else, right? They got nothing else than that. But if they ever do an analysis of what the hell happened to our culture from 2016 to now, they're going to really be like, how the hell did this happen? How the hell did you destroy probably one of the most lucrative, prestigious industries in your country? The only real export that America does besides technology is entertainment, and it's just been destroyed. It's Disney's never coming back. They're never.
You maniacs! Back. You blew it up.
Well,
you blew it
fair,
up.
Salty. China likes to export your patents.
It's true. Well, that when I was working for a certain organization, they just stole them all the time because they could forge. They could get a better clearance. Just say that than someone like me ever could, because they just made up perfect stories, and then because of bureaucracy, they got. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. But you get the idea.
It's true though. But if you're looking at that snapshot, like that is not a famous year in cinema. Like we talk about the 80s, we talk about 82, 84. Like those years are iconic, but I wonder if you could pull up any other decade before 2015, and it's better than what we have right now. And
absolutely.
If you go look at 2012 even, can you remember those top 20 films from that year? Because
true.
I've seen most of these movies, and I've heard of the ones I haven't from before I was born, and these ones currently it's really bottom of the barrel shit we're scraping now, it seems like.
It is.
No, not Musad. I knew somebody who may have been attached to that organization, but I was not in it myself. So I mean, that's a true story.
Friends are your friends.
But
and we have
Zaxx is right. Zaxx is right. I mean, but the 70s, there was a hangover from the big studios because they went too far. They went too far with all the musicals and the big production things, and they lost money. So then they started bringing in filmmakers that nobody knew, like some kid named Spielberg and some kid named George Lucas and these other people, and gave them a little bit of money and said, well, screw it. If he loses that 10, 20, $30 million, at least we didn't lose a whole shitload of money in another musical nobody goes to see, which was popular in the 60s. So that's why you got stuff like American Graffiti, and you got stuff like Serpico. Now, Serpico was a very important book, but a lot of these auteur directors took off. And then once they got more money, they made even better films, which is kind of weird, right? I mean, they didn't just snort it all, I mean, they actually made good movies. I mean, look what Spielberg went on to do in creating the blockbuster in 2 years later in 1975 with Jaws, and then followed it up with Close Encounters, and then Lucas speaks for himself.
American Zoetrope, Coppola as well was one of them. Yeah,
Coppola. Look, The Godfather. I mean, Jesus Christ, man.
Those guys all went to school together too.
Yeah, Apocalypse Now, which was a huge disaster, but somehow this guy did enough acid and spliced enough film together to make a masterpiece. I mean, they couldn't do that with Secret Invasion. Okay, think about that. They had computers.
Oh my God,
they had computers, and that guy's smoking blunts and bell bottoms, and cutting film together to make Apocalypse Now.
With PCP no less.
Probably 2% of that budget.
Salty, out of interest, can you bring up that website? Does it got 2015 or 2014? Just a random year from the 2000. I'd love to see like Zaxx was saying, what's come out that's blown our minds.
Yeah, and we have the ability to watch anything free if you know how to do it.
Well, we
don't even want to do that.
Look at 74.
Look at
the number one movie. Wait,
Raising
look at
Sales.
Young Frankenstein.
Mhm.
Both of those movies came out in 1974.
No way, the same year. Wow.
Godfather
And-
2.
God, dude, look at this. This is a career.
Airport.
This is the greatest-
Career year.
3 of the greatest disaster porn movies ever: Tower Inferno,
Ever.
Earthquake,
Yep.
and Airport
Yep.
1975.
Yeah, those are great. And this
Herbie
Murder on
rides
the Orient
again.
Express-
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, I saw that in the theater, dude. I saw
Yes.
that when I was 4. Murder on the Orient Express, the original one, is actually really, really good. You got the first, obviously, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Chinatown with Jack Nicholson
Death
is in
Wish.
that.
No
Death Wish
way.
with, yeah, The Man with the Golden Gun came up the very next year.
Ah.
So there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
I got one for you, Gray. I randomly pulled up 2012 because
Oh, yeah, I was
made a joke about it in the
Yep,
chat here. So this is Box Office Mojo. This is 2012.
2012, this will be interesting. Is this when the world ended? We just didn't notice.
Yeah, it's
we're on
possible.
hell.
So we've
Give me
got
some
zoom it
zoom.
in. Zoom it in.
Oh,
Okay.
Avengers.
The Avengers, Dark Knight Rises, Hunger Games, Skyfall,
Oh,
and then you really start to like
Twilight
Madagascar
Saga.
3, The
The
Lorax,
Hobbit.
Men
That
in
was a
Black
remake.
3.
Nobody saw that. Wreck-It Ralph. Who gives a shit? Another.
I
What
like
is that?
that
The
one.
8th Ice Age movie.
It
Nobody.
Yeah.
did pretty well. It was 9th. No way.
Snow.
Hotel Transylvania.
I mean,
Safe House.
look at all the remakes, though. But look at all the
Prometheus,
Look at a lot of the
whatever.
remakes.
There you go.
Oh,
Flaccid
no.
Magic Mike is there.
That's why you wanted to show this, because there's naked guys, right?
Yeah,
It's
why not?
flaccid.
Born Legacy
Yeah.
down in 24. Oh dear.
Ghost
Yeah.
Protocol's way down there.
Oh no way.
Yeah,
That's a really good one as well, I think.
like,
Ghost
but like, these are not memorable
these are
for the
forgettable.
most part. Yeah,
That's
like,
it. That's exactly.
Skyfall is one of my, and it's going to be unpopular. One of my least favorite Bond movies is Skyfall. It didn't feel like a Bond
Stop,
movie to me.
please.
I tried to watch. That's when I was like, this isn't a Bond movie, dude. That's how I felt. I was like, that's why I haven't watched a lot of the.
Doesn't
a lot
feel
of the
like
new
a Bond
modern
movie, so you know, not at all.
No.
No.
The
I mean, a
Amazing
lot of these
Spider-Man.
movies. A lot of these
Brave.
movies are free on Amazon, and Amazon's charging for everything. Like a lot of the ones at the bottom, they're free. You know, like if you want to watch Big Trouble in Little China, Amazon wants you to pay $20 an hour. Have you guys
Right.
noticed that?
Looper,
Um,
Medea.
yeah.
We got Medea.
Medea's witness
Wow.
protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that even a real
Yeah.
thing, Zaxx?
But you're
What
right
a
about
legend.
Dude, can you go to 2016? Not that I'm going to boss you, but
Yeah.
or how about 2017 or 2018? Because again, like, is the Avengers a good movie? Yes. The problem
Yeah.
is that everything that has happened since Endgame, for me, has made me rethink all of the strong positive reactions I had to the MCU before Endgame. Because
Oh.
I mean,
Ooh.
I think this is the damage that Disney has done in all these studios. They don't understand. They haven't just destroyed the shit that they made now that nobody's watching. They devalued the value of what they made before to a certain point.
Look at that, gentleman.
Oh, shut up, Nas.
Who's bullying? No one's bullying me.
Drink- Just drink your Ripple and
Get back to your
shooting at
box line.
rats. You know, like in the it's fine.
It's up there, Gray. 2017
unbelievable.
is up.
Sexu-
Oh, nice one. Where are
sexually
we?
harassing
Look at
women.
this.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Dude, oh, my God.
Look at that.
Shit.
The harbinger of things to come.
Oh yeah.
I
Totally.
didn't see Wonder Woman in the theater. That was when I got off Redbox. Like, I didn't give a shit enough. And Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't go see that in a movie theater either. I got that off Redbox as well.
Okay,
Homecoming.
Logan. I like
Good.
Logan.
I went to go see Thor Ragnarok and was pissed off.
I saw Dunkirk in the theater. That's the only one so far that I've seen.
Yeah,
in the
that
theater.
was incredible. in
Justice
the
League.
theater.
No Logan? Gray?
No,
No, I
not,
didn't-
no,
not
not,
in the
not in the
theater,
theater.
not in the theater.
Crazy, right?
The Lego Batman movie. There we go.
Nice, baby.
Kong
Jumanji.
Skull Island. Brie Larson's
I
best
didn't
performance,
see-
apparently.
But this is how we got to today. This is
Yeah.
why we're here, because of this stuff.
It's just built on the. I mean, look at Beauty and the Beast, which is a remake of a '90s animated Disney thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I know
the
it's a
live
classic story.
action remake.
But how? I mean, look at what we got. The Last Jedi. I mean, that's what brought me to YouTube. I just went to YouTube to learn how to how do I replace a certain switch on my Honda Pilot where I don't know where the hell it is, and it's like actually under the car in a secret hidden box. You know, I would have never found. That's why I'd go to YouTube, and
Yeah.
instead I started to find a lot of the people that we all know, that we watch, the big channels that have only gotten bigger, because I mean, again, like, disenfranchise your core fandom, and little did we know that was just the beginning of all this. You know, I saw the Justice League in the theater and thought it was retarded. I'm going to say that. I do love the Snyder cut, though. I do.
I like it better.
I don't like I don't like Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, but I think he got that one right. You know.
This is it.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's kind of depressing, isn't it?
Remakes of remakes. I mean, there is some new stuff here, but I mean, you start to see the identity politics, like Hidden Figures. It's like, oh, because it's like my diversity in NASA, you know, and it's like, were they there? Yeah. So were a whole bunch of other people who didn't credit for a lot of things. Just gonna park that right there. So
Split was fun. That was a surprise. I was surprised I liked that one. That's M. Night Shyamalan. That's his 1 out of 10. That's a decent one. Yeah.
Okay.
James McAvoy. It's good.
James McAvoy. Yeah.
Who got dragged to La La Land by a date of their wife or whatever?
I have never seen it.
Never seen it. Never will.
I got dragged on a date. I got dragged on it, and I hated that goddamn movie so much.
And then you dragged her to watch 50 Shades Darker, didn't you?
I did it for lust, not for love. So don't judge me. Don't judge me, guys. Just say, you know.
Hey Dempsey. Good to see you, mate.
Dempsey.
Hey.
Nosferatu agrees about Split, one of the few movies that he likes. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Blade
nice
Runner
surprise.
2049. Jesus.
Down in 37th place, Blair.
Was the
Daddy's
bad
Home
guy
too.
the bad guy?
Daddy's Home 2 beat Blade Runner.
Did Shyamalan have the bad guy be the wind again, like he did in The Happening? Do you remember that goddamn movie?
Yes.
That was horrible.
I walked out of that movie. I thought it was aliens. No, it's just the wind.
I've never seen it. Is it the wind? The wind's a bad guy.
You want to be pissed off and break things? Then go watch that movie. Yeah.
Oh, The Mummy. That's the Cruise one, right?
Tom Cruise, one of his biggest bombs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the first one in the Universal horror verse, dark verse thing, and then it tanked so hard they're like, nope, we're not doing any of this.
Yeah, which is a damn shame because if you watch the original Mummy, it holds up so well with Claude.
Yes.
I mean, it's actually terrifying because I got all the Universal monsters on remastered Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Got 'em too.
it changes everything, dude. You know what I mean? Like you see the bad, crappy copies that were always like on cable TV, and then to see them like brand new crystal clear prints, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Can't recommend it enough.
Yep.
Just amazing,
Signs is
amazing
good.
stuff.
I like Signs, Stephen Ransom.
Stephen Ransom, still rates Signs.
It was good.
I thought
Signs
it
was
was pretty
good
good.
Yeah.
Go by The Happening Snyder cut. No.
Yes.
Getting the Lady of the Water, was it? Lady of the Water? That was
horrible.
Fuck
That was
that.
I never saw that. I never saw that.
Okay, no.
Don't. That's where it just got his head was up his ass. Smelling
He
his own
lost me
farts.
after The Happening. I really thought it was going to be like spirits or aliens, and no, it's just the wind and the planet, climate change. Like, oh god.
And Marky Mark was just playing Marky Mark, and he was playing a dumbed down Marky Mark, if that's possible.
I know. It's true. He's brain damaged, Marky Mark. It's true.
He's like a professor or something like that, but no, he's a
He was in Boogie Nights, wasn't he? I think that's his best performance.
Yeah.
Boogie Nights. It's actually decent in that.
John Holmes.
his lower half.
thing.
Yeah.
Strong
Guys, what
performance.
Salty was saying before about so many recent movies, it's like so much crap is free on Amazon or Netflix, but if you want to watch a decent movie, you've got to like rent it, you've got to pay for it, haven't you? Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Amazon in particular, you can tell how much they're in the hole.
Yeah,
I mean, again,
absolutely.
so many movies, and all of the good James Bond movies, like Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan. They used to be mostly free on Amazon. Like if you just had Amazon Prime, every single one of those movies you have to pay to watch. There's no included with Prime. Now, of course, virtually all of the new Bond movies are free on Amazon Prime. So that tells you all you need to know about where James Bond went. Yeah.
Yeah.
this movie's just these movies are fun and they're over the top and the effects isn't great. I mean, they only had $7 million to make this movie, but the story was good. And like you did the numbers, Blair, to make $160 something million in 1973 on a $7 million budget, it works out to, what did you say, 1.1 or 1.2 billion dollars in today's money.
In today's money, they spent $48 million and made 1.1 billion.
That's huge.
I mean,
yeah,
you know, when a movie spends 100 million and makes a billion, 1.3 billion, it's like, you know, incredible, which it is. But just back then, just
salty. Yeah,
I don't have
aside.
Netflix, but I
There are
don't
ways
have
to
Netflix.
watch it. Japanese sumo.
I've seen the first episode.
I'll reach out to someone I sail the high seas with, and she'll hook me up with it. So
Your yachting friend, yes.
It's the kind of yachting where we carry cutlasses and steal everything on the other boats. That's exactly it. Yes,
The best kind.
So, guys, what do you reckon? Actually, the 15 people watching can't believe it. Before we wrap things up, can the James Bond franchise, if there is such a thing anymore, can it be saved, or is it time to just like leave it alone for a while? What do you reckon? Can they reinvigorate it?
Do you like a 009 with, you know,
with a non-binary character? Sure. Yeah.
No, with Idris Elba or somebody like that, you know. I think James Bond 007 needs to go away for a while.
Okay.
Until it's safe to come out. Because they're already screaming that it's got to be a woman the next one, and you know, everything. And
work out.
I'm sure that'll work out fantastic for them if they decide
Go
to
the
go
Doctor
that
Who
route.
route. Is that what you're saying? That worked out really well, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to finish it off good, just do that. But I think give it a break for a while. You know,
you can't do a female Bond. Like, that's such a stupid idea.
I know.
Just
stupid.
Do a 009 or some shit if you're going to do that.
Yes, exactly.
It's all, and it can still suck. Don't get me wrong, but you don't have to try to make a female Bond. What is, like, that's the dumbest idea. And
it's almost the dumbest. You know what is the dumbest? Is making a female Doctor Who. That's the dumbest idea. Can I just sorry to interrupt?
Absolutely.
You're not wrong. No.
Dude. Yeah.
You're right, Salty.
I think there's a real appetite for old school spy movies, like intelligently written, red herrings, Morris Strikers, not mystery box. Okay, not mystery box, but things where you have to, like, if you're smart and you pay attention, you're rewarded. And you can do that, and then you can also do the Connery type Bond stuff. And it doesn't matter that people in Hollywood don't want to do it. I forget who it is that's building a movie studio in Las Vegas right now. I want to. Could it even be Mark? It could be Mark Wahlberg.
It's Marky Mark. Correct.
I think is it Marky Mark?
And somebody somewhere is going to make a shitload of money away from Hollywood. And I mean, look at what's happening in the indie comic book space. Look at what's happening with independent films, especially those about subjects that Hollywood and the media don't want to talk about. And you know what I'm talking about with The Sound of Freedom? There is a huge market. And we're not talking like 60-40. We're talking 90 to 95% that just want entertainment. And they will pay good money to go and support it, if nothing else, if not just to be entertained, but to do this to Hollywood in the most loudest ways possible. Because look at what that asshole director said about Secret Invasion today. He's like, I don't read reviews and I don't really care what the audience thinks. It's like, my job was done. $200 million.
Oh, God.
$200 million. I could fuck something up for $199 million and Disney could have saved $1 million. Like, think about that one a second. If you just would have gave me $199 million, I could have like did some stick figures that would have been more entertaining than what that ass clown made for Secret Invasion.
Guys, what about this one? Casey Charlie Chats. Now I was thinking the same thing. Make it a period piece. If you do make a Bond movie, set it in the 60s during the Cold War. Bring back the spy to it, the spy level to it.
We talked about that, Zaxx, like 2 years ago. Remember with the Fantastic Four movie?
Yes.
The Fantastic Four movie in the
60s.
They would $2 billion. They would print money. What did they do? They gave it to the She-Hulk writer. Now she
God,
got
Jesus.
shit canned. No, she got shit canned. They brought somebody else in to do it, but that's on the shelf now because of the strike. So like, man, they don't want to make money. They don't want to entertain us. I don't know what they want to do. I used to think, and Zaxx, we used to talk about this all the time. I used to think it was just ESG stuff. Now I think they're just all insane. Like devil worshiping, like cannibals. That's all. Like they don't want anybody to be happy because they're miserable bastards themselves. I have no other explanation for why they're doing this.
How do you take an actor like Samuel L. Jackson for whatever he said some dumb things recently? He's always been entertaining or at least charismatic, and you take him and you put a Secret Invasion, which I watched episode 1, and I would rather be punched in the face than watch the rest of it. For real.
It was so bad, Zaxx. Me too. I
That's
dropped
what
after one.
Disparu said. That's what
Oh my
Disparu was
God.
saying. Is like he's like I know it. He's like I know it's terrible, but he's like I'm a forensic scientist at a murder scene, and I'm going through and dissecting this show. That's what he was saying to me, and it's like cheers to Disparu for making the content that he does about this show.
That's true. Yes, yeah, and Roman watched it too, and I watched his review of it last night, and I'm so glad I didn't watch any more of that. It's horrible. Nothing. It's in it 6 hours of Sam Jackson being shitty, and we're gonna get to see old Harrison Ford now and old Sam Jackson potentially back together for Thunderbolts, and just like those were can't miss, charisma beacons. They were, and you're telling me if you had told me, I wouldn't watch it. I'd rather watch. I'm rewatching Justified. Like I am. I don't want to watch this shit.
I just rewatched all the Venture Brother season 6 and 7, and I saw the movie. Fucking awesome.
I was talking about it in the green room before the show. I'm going back and watching every John Wayne movie ever made, even the weird Western ones that are a little weird. I'm watching In Harm's Way tonight. Beautiful World War II Navy battle movie. Absolutely fantastic movie. But it's not just Thunderbolts. It's also what is it? New World Order or whatever the hell the new black Captain America movie is, where old Harrison Ford is going to be Red Hulk.
They've changed the title, haven't they?
Old man Harrison Ford is going to be Red Hulk.
God.
Yay.
Hiding in plain sight, so you know what I mean? Captain America New World Order, like, come on. Is it Brave New World now? Why just call it 1984? Fucking hell.
Secret Invasion, I'm listening to them tell me about this show, and it's like these girls come and they seamlessly integrate into our society. They take over high power positions using their ability to be whoever they want, but then for some reason they feel the need to start an open war. Why? You're already here. You already did it. Like you won. Now we're gonna have a fight. What?
I forget who I was listening to. Maybe it was Ryan Cannell or it was Confish, but somebody was talking about the director in that same article I was talking about said that they had shot so much film because it takes a lot of work to burn through $200 million and have nothing to show for it. But they shot a lot of shit, but they kept on re-editing it together just to make the deadlines. And the show wasn't done by the time the first episode premiered. So I mean, that can explain some stuff. But at the same point, who was responsible? Someone needs to be the bad guy. Someone needs to be the mom and dad with these people, right?
I mean, to be fired for this shit. That's why.
Do you like your job? Do you like your job? Do you like taking somebody else's $200 million and making shit no one wants to watch? Would you like to do that again? How about you not make something that is completely fucking irrational that no one is ever going to watch? I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, let's let everything with a grain of salt, right? But how the fuck do you get 10%? I mean, like literally, that's worse than The Last Jedi. It's worse than The Witcher.
10%, really?
It's worse than Witcher Blood Origin. Think about that. Like, how bad does something have to be?
Those are all the people who watch this, and this is their last, as they're walking out the door, it's like, I'm giving this nothing, The score crashed, as deservedly it should. Yeah. And this leads directly into the Marvels.
I'm thinking, though,
isn't that great?
If you take this fucking director and you say, you're going to have to watch your show now. I'm going to make you watch it. And I'm going to watch you watch it. And then the next project you have to make, you're going to have to watch it too. So you can, I guarantee I wouldn't watch this if I made it either.
I'm just the shit that he said, and this was in the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, this guy's like, I don't care about what critics say. I stand by my work, and I'm not going to watch the final product. And if the studio had a problem with it, they would have had us change it. I mean, this guy's like, this is tough shit. It's like tough shit, Like,
hey, me,
you're
please.
all just racist. It's white supremacy to not like the shitty thing I made. Where have we heard that one before?
Oh, God.
And again, they weren't allowed to read the comic. Like, fuck.
Yeah, it was Secret Invasion, a name only from the comics.
There's a comic? Really?
Oh my God.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is the sequel to the Eternals is delayed. So there's that.
Yay.
I wish I was kidding. That's actually happening.
I know.
It was in pre-production. Think about that one a second. Like, why? Like, just give me them. Just steal all the money. Give me $1 million, and I'll say it was the best movie ever made, and just re-release the Eternals again. Because nobody went and saw the Eternals, so you could say it was the Eternals too. Okay.
But now they're going to say that the Marvels is being delayed too, because of the strike.
Unfortunately, Dune is being delayed. That sucks.
Yeah,
that does suck.
We mentioned that earlier, that Salty was holding out hope because they haven't made the official announcement, but it's
maybe.
good.
It's maybe. And I mean, there's no other tentpole movie coming out at the end of the year. There is none. They would own the box office if you think about it.
Trolls 2 or something?
Okay, well, Trolls 2 was going to come out, but the Marvels.
That's not
if Dune 2 moves, and it's the Trolls versus Miss Marvel or the
Trolls
Marvels,
is going to curb stomp it.
Trolls is going to kick its ass like Mario Brothers, and I would love. Man. I will go see the Trolls too, just so that it makes the Marvels look bad. Like, that's how strongly I feel about it.
Thanks, Stephen. You take care. Have a good night.
Take care, Stephen.
Good night, Stephen.
Just had a quick check. Eternals 2021, budget was 236 million. It made 400 million. How is that getting a sequel? It's insane.
That marketing budget was high. They pimped that goddamn movie a lot.
God,
so that was probably close to 150 to 200, and that's just being conservative. And then if that's the box office, again, what was the actual return? If that's gross, then the studio maybe got 50% domestic, but if it's in China, they only got like 30-40%.
I don't think it was in China that year.
I don't think it didn't. It didn't get released because of the director and the Taiwan connections.
She misspoke in the paper, and they blackballed her hard.
Oh yeah.
The Chinese documentarian filmmaker who made the menstrual druggie in the desert old lady sitting in a chair that was homeless movie.
What the fuck?
That's what she did.
I like that movie. It was good.
I'm not being unfair in my characterization.
But you're not being unfair.
Okay? I mean, that's what it
Frances
was.
McDormand, is that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
That was the actress. Zoe Chow. It was Zoe Chow. That's the one. She did that movie. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was like the last human being on the planet who should have done a superhero movie.
Oh my God! Look at Copa Catania's comment. Zaxx, you might want to take a Valium.
I've heard this. I've heard it's true, Zaxx. It's true.
It does have season 2. And Nos is talking. He wants to do a review show with me live on YouTube. So talk about the Peripheral. I'm there.
He wants to see Zaxx smash his keyboard or throw things.
I've got to be on that. I got to see that one.
I'll watch you guys. I'm not watching any more terrible shit.
I'm not watching the show. I'm just going to watch the YouTube.
It gets worse, Salty. Sandman season 2 apparently it's being greenlit.
Dude, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. But here's the thing. With the strike the way that it is, even if it was in pre-production, given the amount of special effects, you're probably still looking at 2 years before we'd ever see that.
Yes.
So
hopefully we'll never see it.
Yeah.
When
we do have Wheel of Time. We do have Wheel of Time coming out September 1st. So,
yay!
You are so excited for that, Salty. Come on, admit it. You're excited
I'm kind of excited to see how
subscribers increase. Boom.
It's gonna be so.
It's gonna be like hate watching only.
Well, I can guarantee you, I guess 90% of the plot, which is why I had a video blow up. I'm pretty sure everybody at Amazon was watching it to go, how did this guy find out what we're doing in season 2? And it's like, because you guys are morons and so predictable, you know?
I love the meme where it's got the big giant book with like source material, and then here's what they use. It's like a little tiny thing that says just the name. That's all I got. Just the name, and everything else got left.
Is that how you guys found each other, Zaxx and Salty? Was it through the Wheel of Time?
Yeah,
Adaptation.
Zaxx helped me a lot. He helped me before I knew how to do any of the shit. I didn't know what a mod was. I didn't know what anything was. He hooked me up with.
Together.
He would, brought us together, and you were doing. We got you on screen, and then you brought me Punk Waddle, and I met everybody, and then Steve and Nathan and a whole bunch of other people.
It's crazy, isn't it? I was just with the Prime, bringing people together, Salty, official.
Yeah. Well, yeah, misery loves company. It was one of those things where, I mean, it was like The Last Jedi. Like, what the fuck did I? What's happening?
Yeah.
How could you do this with all the source material you have? Like, how could you possibly do this? And
they did
season 2, yeah, and then we got Rings of Power too.
Yeah.
What if, Salty? Now, what if, as someone like you love that world, and they've already fucked it up, but what if they just decided, mask off, we are not following anything to do with this world anymore at all?
Season 2.
And they made a show where the boys they go full villain with all the boys. Would that not be more interesting than what they're going to give us? Like,
it's true.
Go completely off the books. Don't even pretend to be a reflection of what was written. Don't do it.
Zaxx, I think you're right. It would be entertaining. The problem is that I think the people behind this really have no talent, and it sucks because I think the crews do. I think the crews behind this are incredible. They have a lot of technical skill. You can see it in this. In some of the directors, I think it was a woman. She's a French director. Charlotte Bancroft or Broncroft. I respect her because you can see her technical acumen. The problem is the story is absolute dog shit. So you can make it look beautiful. If the story is terrible, it doesn't matter. I mean, and that was the scene that the finale, which was an absolutely beautiful, unholy disaster of shit because of the story. But technically it looked nice. So it's like if I had that director and I had some of the costumers they had and I gave them the actual descriptions from the books, I would just restart. I would restart this whole goddamn series, and you could do it for a lot less money than they did. Just make a good story.
But you need more Moraine.
Can't do that.
More Moraine.
But that's all season 2 is. It's Moiraine, the ninja Rambo lesbian. That's
in the bath,
pretty much
of course, in the sauna.
Yeah.
What a trailer.
I
don't know what's going to be worse: Peripheral, The Rings of Power, Wheel of Time. I mean, the gold standard clearly is Secret Invasion and Witcher season 3. I think
it does seem to be a competition to the bottom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hope one benefit of silver lining of the strike is that they do burn out all the no talent hacks that they've brought in for their mud diversity.
God,
to check the boxes, and what's left is some people who have some talent who can write, and tell some stories. But
they have to get rid of a lot of people who got in their management positions through everything but talent, and I don't know how you do that because I've seen what's happened here. Okay, fair. No, not fair.
Crazy man.
I've seen this happen in corporate America in the industry that I work in, and I've talked with other people that a lot of us have worked here who work in other industries, and they've also seen it too. It's called disruption. And disruption in finance, disruption in construction, disruption in healthcare, disruption in farming. It's all about disruption. The power is the destruction and removal of the people who are competent in those roles. And then you bring in people who have diversity and inclusion, and they have everybody run around doing all this crazy DIE shit to cover over the fact that they have no fucking idea how to do what it is that they got rid of all the people who did know how to do. And you're seeing it in Hollywood, but it's already existed. And a lot of us are fighting it in the industries now, is trying to help those people come back from the edge. The problem is those layers of executives are so infiltrated with these people who are incompetent and lead through fear. And I think Hollywood, I don't know how it comes back from this. I mean, Disney can sell itself to Apple. It's only going to get worse. I mean, Paramount, how could they get worse? There was a fucking musical Star Trek episode that just got released. Like it's the 1994 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. again. You know
what they did to start
Um,
Dick. You know, I know like
Star
Doctor
Dick.
Who hurt. Start, yeah,
I thought it was
Star
a
Dick.
joke. I thought it was a joke, though. It was a parody.
but
Yeah.
you know, You know what they did to Doctor Who
It's
got a lot
terrible.
of people, but for me, Star Trek, what they did to Star Trek was worse because Star Trek was my favorite. You know, it was my
You
first
and Nerd
one,
Poor. You and Nerd Poor.
and they just took it out behind the woodshed and they shot it dead, and then put
Yeah.
its skin on and came back and
That's
tried to
it.
pretend that you know
Yeah.
I can't watch it anymore. I just can't even look at it.
I know.
It's just disgusting.
What is it for you, Zaxx, that you think is the worst or
Thank
the
you.
most egregious, or what stuck a dagger in your heart, dude? Like out of all these things.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard to say because there's been a lot, but I guess first, like I would say Rings of Power, except for I was expecting it. Like we did see
Yeah.
that coming from the very first trailers and the first articles in
Yeah.
Variety. Like, so it wasn't a surprise. I was surprised by how boring it was, which made me less upset about it because it was just like such a slog to even get through that, you know, having emotions attached to it anymore was hard to keep. I think the worst was Wheel of Time episode 1. That was the hardest for me to have to watch because in the first 30 seconds they ruin the entire world, everything in the first 30 seconds, and I'm like, and I wanted to watch that with my son, like, but I'm not gonna make
Yeah,
him
I
watch
remember
this
you
now.
saying that too. Yeah.
And I was excited to
Yeah.
share that with him, and like, not this is not what I wanted to share with them. So it was really,
Yeah.
it took me 3 days to get through that episode, and 3 times to get through just the intro, like just to where the opening credits start. It was so bad.
Dude, I mean, we were getting a couple hundred, like 400 or 500
Fuck.
views of the live watch, which was, you know, good for a channel my size, right? And I literally could not watch another goddamn episode of that show.
Rings
In the
of Power,
middle of
yeah.
it, like Rings of Power. There's the end of episode 4 or 5. Nothing was happening. What is going on? I cannot do this. Like I can't do this anymore.
I moved
And then,
to the apathy phase. I just don't watch it anymore.
and
I mean,
that's
I've been
why
offered to be brought on channels. If I watch them, like, fuck no, I'm not watching that.
I don't want to. I've said it on
don't.
live streams, and we've talked about it privately. All of us is just it can't hurt me because it's so literally not at all Tolkien. It doesn't matter anymore. And I've kind of gotten to the place now with the Rings of Power, or not the Rings of Power, but with Wheel of Time, where I want to see how badly they mutilate Rand, Matt, and Perrin, but we already know what the show's going to be. It's going to be Rosamund Pike, the super Rambo ninja lesbian, like in completely ignoring the other 1,400 pages of these 2 books they're trying to adapt in 8 episodes of 45 minutes of television. You know, I mean, it's going to be a goddamn disaster. You know, it's just to what level, you know?
You need to try to sucker some of these shills who still defend this show into a debate of some kind to talk about this stuff. You got to do it, Salty. Like you're rip them a new one. That would be the most. That would make it. That would make it. Won't be worth it, but fuck, that'd be fun to watch.
Yes.
It would. It just. We'll have to talk about some of the stuff off camera that's been going through my mind, but a lot of it is I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I'd rather not embarrass somebody. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm an intellectual giant. That's not what I'm saying. But I think this show is so indefensible that if you're going to defend this show, chances are you're 14 years old or you suffered a traumatic brain injury. And in which case I wouldn't want to beat up a kid or somebody who's handicapped. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want to do that.
Take the high road. Okay.
That come out wrong. I was trying to be nice about this. I mean, you know, it's like I'm sick.
You don't want to beat up on the cripple. Okay, we get you.
Some of these people who come after me on Twitter, they have like rainbows. They have like flags. I don't even know what they are, and anime things, and like all these.
Yes, I know what you
symbols.
mean.
Like, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is, but your mom is probably going to find out who I am and call the cops. You know, if I say what I think to you. So, yeah.
A dramatic testosterone drop too, says Dempsey. Okay, guys, should we wrap things up because it's getting late? I know where you are. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
So Can we rate it? Can we rate it?
I'm
out
going
of
to
5 or
rate
10?
it.
Really?
Does anyone
Yeah.
care what we think? So 1973, Live and Let Die, Roger Moore, James Bond. Great soundtrack, or great theme anyway, theme tune.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Let's start with Zaxx, because Zaxx was the last one here, but he always gives the best ratings and the best reviews, I think.
Well, for me, I would probably give this one a 5. It's an average Bond movie. It was. I think Roger Moore did a fine job picking up the mantle. I could have used a lot more Odd Job, I think, in this, and I would have enjoyed it that much more.
Yeah, me too.
if they give me more Odd Job, but other than that, it's a fine Bond movie, and 5 is not a bad rating. 5 is average.
No.
So, yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks, Zaxx. Blair, how about you? Out of 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
Mm.
You know, it's not the worst Bond, but it's not the greatest. It does not age well for me. It's totally a movie of its time, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 2 fair scores there. Salty, how about you? Can you save the score?
Nas, I just want to call out your chat, but don't put it up on the screen, Gray, and that's really funny and true. But I think I'm gonna have to give this one. I was gonna say a 6, but I'm gonna go with a 5.5, like Blair, because I have to be aware of the sentimental charm of this movie because I was a kid growing up in the 70s, and so seeing all these things I think affects my judgment a little bit, and the big cars and all that stuff. But this is a very entertaining movie. It is literally a blaxploitation movie with James Bond in it. That's really what this movie is, and yet it's really entertaining. So 5.5, 6, somewhere like that. It's not Connery, and there are better, more movies, but
yes,
5.5.
Okay, that's a fair one too. Yeah, for me, it's not the worst Roger Moore movie by far. No way. It's not the worst Bond movie, but it's not the best either. But I do like it, and I do have a kind of nostalgic love for it. I've seen it a lot when I was a kid. And Jane Seymour, come on, guys.
Dude, you
Jane
didn't
Seymour.
Show her.
6.9. It's got to be 69. 6.9 out of 10 for me, just for Jane Seymour. She's amazing in it. She's only 20 years old as well.
You had so many opportunities to show transparent dresses, and we could see her nipples.
I know. I didn't get.
Stream. What the heck?
They blew it.
What a shame.
The whole damn reason I came on the show, dude.
Where are we? I've got a bit of photo. I haven't got any really sexy photos of her though, unfortunately. Never mind.
Yeah, she should have been all of the front of the black and white silhouetted nipples and everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How old is she here?
20. They said.
Okay.
And he was 46.
Yeah.
As far as he's that old. Wow.
Yeah.
She could have been his daughter, you know what I mean, in real life.
Totally.
Right? The age difference.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like a Hollywood relationship, is what you're saying.
Hello
wait a minute.
Holly.
It's
Weird.
literally it's Leonardo DiCaprio and his current girlfriend. Think about that one a second. It's exact.
Oh, shots fired by Salty.
I give him a high 5. That's okay. Dempsey, yes,
hello.
Dempsey is right. Watch Sanctuary, Salty.
Okay. All right.
I'm starting to watch it now too.
Okay.
Sumo.
Dude, you were right about Dark, and that if you haven't seen Dark, Jesus Christ, go watch Dark.
Go
Just
watch
gonna
Dark.
say that.
Yeah, for sure, Dark. Sanctuary.
That was Zaxx. Yep.
Sanctuary's good.
Yep.
Sumo.
Yes. It's in Japanese though, Salty. You know, foreign language. You don't like subtitles, do you?
Are you talking? I'm looking at Jane Seymour's nipples.
I know. Just like, oh my goodness. It's a shame it's a bit blurry. I couldn't get a better shot. Never mind.
That's okay. I've got it on Blu-ray. It's fine.
Okay, awesome. So before we go, just shout out the chat. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been amazing. Does anybody have anything exciting coming up this weekend? After seeing Jane Seymour, I've got something coming up. I'll just say that right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Down, boy.
I got lots.
Come on. Zaxx, you go first, baby. You've always got lots. You're everywhere. You are omnipotent.
6. Tomorrow, I'm on with Brandon, the anime guy, on his channel at 11 a.m. Central, talking about Isekai, which I don't know anything about, so he's going to teach me.
Isekai.
Anime.
Yeah. It's anime. It's dangerous. Circle of Jerks tomorrow night, and then Sunday I'm going to be on Copa's show. Yo, what's your favorite movie show? Talking about 300.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yes.
Cool.
Good movie. Good movie.
Copa's Sunday is my favorite show now.
It's
Ninja
great.
Scroll. Dempsey, one day we will get there, I promise. I know I've been teasing it for ages. We will get there.
Yeah.
Zaxx is the GOAT, according to 6. There we go. Just killed the conversation, sorry. Blair, what have you got coming up? Are you going to be on anywhere?
Roman's channel. Now that he's done the Secret Invasion, it's safe for me to come back.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So the next couple of weeks we're going to be free ranging it, but then I can't remember. It's 3 weeks from now or so, or 2 weeks. We're going to finally do Dark City. Yes.
Oh.
I'm looking
Good
forward to
movie.
that.
Wish I could
Good
join
movie.
that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. And Salty, come on, man. What have you got? By the way, I love
I
that
don't
video
know,
where you showed some of the photos, the new photos from Wheel of Time. I thought they were.
Oh, did
I
you
thought they
like
were
that one?
They were memes or something.
Just need to let the pictures speak for themselves. And that's what I
God,
try to do.
1,000 words.
Don't worry. The next Wheel of Time Wednesday. Well, obviously every Wednesday when we get more Wheel of Time stuff, I'll be covering that. I'm hoping to do a live stream. I did a whole Jeopardy game I've created with a bunch of people to talk and do the play that about Wheel of Time and what the show did. I don't know when that's going to happen. Of course, please check out Steve, Prophet of the Dragon. His channel, he's constantly putting stuff up. Check out Nerdporial Lifeform. He had a good stream tonight, just hanging out, talking, I think, on Angry Canadian's channel. And of course, our man Nathan put out a video for the first time in a while. It's actually pretty darn good, talking about Wheel of Time. Go give him Amanda Manethrin, give him a look at his stuff too. But other than that, just, I put out stuff, things happen. So, yeah.
Any more paranormal woo-woo shows with Purple?
Yeah, I was talking with Purple. Most of it we're probably going to shoot maybe for this weekend, maybe for next Wednesday.
Cool.
I have a stack this high of crazy shit I want to get to. So, yeah.
Yes, that sounds good to me. I always enjoy those streams. Okay, guys, I really appreciate you coming on. You've really cheered me up. Bit of a not a bad weekend, but yeah, a bit of a weird thing going on at the moment. But anyway, yeah, things are good. Yeah. And talking to you makes me feel so much better. Okay.
Oh, you
To
big
say that
lug!
now.
I wish I could put my arms around you and kiss you right on the mouth.
Put your arms around me. So,
For
what should we do at
us,
the end? What should we draw before we go?
August
Oh, yeah.
17th is Dark City. I believe that's
Roman
the
of the
date.
Empire, yeah, Blair.
Yes.
Roman of the Empire's channel. Check that out. Don't miss it. Be there or be square. Okay. What's left to say but good night, take care, good health, God bless you.
Hello.